Good evening. I'd like to call to order the West Bend Community Memorial Library Board meeting for Tuesday, September 15th. I will call for an order, but I also will say it has been asked that if you speak, if you can take your mask off, because some of the people have problems hearing when someone's trying to talk through a mask. Okay.
I didn't turn the mic on last.
Oh, yes, and turn your mics on. That does help. I would like to ask for an approval of the agenda.
So move.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on, we are professionals.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we
Is
are.
there any discussion on the agenda? If not, I'll ask for an approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I would like to call for the consent agenda to approve the minutes of the August 18th meeting and also the approval of the library expenditures for August 2020.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Financial reports, Mr. Joseph.
So we finally got our money in from the money market account. It was the $1,001.90 that was put into the account. So
Was that for 6 months?
No, I know they don't always give, like, they're a little weird. They don't like to give out money if the market's not doing very well. So I don't know if they gave out anything for 3 months ago.
Do you know what period of time this covers? Is it a 6 month? Is it
Well,
because?
the statements are 3-month statements.
Huh?
So the statements are 3-month statements, so I'm assuming it's just.
So
a
this is the
3-month.
interest we earned over 6 months?
No, I think it's 3 months of income. Because it includes dividends for whatever the investments are in the money market.
Well, it says restricted semi-annual interest deposited to BMO money market account. Semi-annual is twice a year or every 6 months. So is this for 6 months or not?
Where are you seeing semi-annual?
Under the restricted committed non-taxpayer funds, the 43,000 line, right?
Oh, okay. That I'm not 100% sure. I can go back and look at the prior 3 months if you want, but.
If you could find out, because I'm not questioning, but for 6 months, that's a good return, and that,
Right.
maybe we
Yeah.
missed something, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's for.
So if you could please, for the next meeting, let us know what period of time this covers.
Sure.
And if it is,
Yeah.
let us know what the investment is, because we all probably would like to get into that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me. Anything else, Joseph, you wanted to explain?
Not really, just a little bit of regular interest. That's about it.
Are there any questions for Joseph? No. Okay. If not, we will move on. Public comment, and we will move on. Library Director's report.
Good evening. This is National Library Card Sign-Up Month. We made it. Oh, thank you. Yes. We made it. The billboards are up if you haven't seen them and you go by between Jackson and Richfield and in Slinger at 41 and 60. The billboards are up there. Social media posts are going out regularly, and I know Monarch Library System is also doing some sponsored posts on Facebook. And we have a scavenger hunt going on right now as well for anyone coming to the library to learn more about our library services and policies. And we also have book bags on sale for $7. So the totes. Yep.
What do they look like?
I got one. They look like this.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
Ooh. Doug.
They're nice. They've got a nice sturdy bottom.
Yep. So those have been selling pretty well.
I love it.
We had a meeting for the strategic planning for the city of West Bend. I was involved in that and with the department heads. That meeting was today, and we talked about the mission and vision statements that were drafted and came up with a couple of revisions that they're going to look at. And from the meeting that was held a couple weeks ago, that included the elected officials and some community members. So, last night, the capital improvement project budget was approved by the finance committee, correct? Brett? That included our sprinkler system pipe replacement project. I don't know if you remember, the sprinkler system has some leaks in it in the attic space. We got that one run done, but the other 3 are on the docket for that project. So that's going to be paid for by the city of West Bend and the county funds.
County funds, yeah, county capital.
The Washington County Library Services Study will be presented to the Administrative Committee of Washington County on Thursday. If you need a hard copy of that report, please let me know and I will print one out for you. We will discuss this at our October meeting because I want everyone to have the opportunity to review it before we actually have a discussion.
And you sent that out.
I did send that out on Thursday. So if you need a hard copy, let me know. It's a 70-page document, so I can print it front and back at the library. As far as statistics, our circulation is up slightly last month, and we lended more items than we borrowed, so we were a net lender this month. So it was surprising to see that circulation was slightly up as well, since we were a net lender. Volunteers are also back helping with shelving and pulling holds and getting things ready for take-home kits and things like that we're doing. Electronic circs was down for the month, but they're trending high for the year. So that's one trend that we're noticing. And then there was also a full summer reading program report as part of the statistics. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Does anyone have any questions for Amy?
No, but Amy, I don't know if, her name is blanking on me now. I just had
It's
it.
okay.
She was on the strategic planning committee with us. No,
The head of circulation, or Emily?
I think it's Emily, yes.
Okay.
So with Library Month or whatever, I want you to know that the teachers, the ELA teachers specifically at Badger have gone over the Monarch system, and we said specifically if we end up having to go virtual, that this is a service that, the kids can come and we've got all these things. We showed them how to check everything out. But I talked with
great.
Emily about a lot of them don't have library cards.
Okay.
And I know that they need a parent to come in, show ID, sign. I'm not sure if there's something, so there was 2 questions that the ELA teachers had in mind that maybe we need further discussion on. But one of them was, could we take care of something like that? I think Emily said we would need board approval, which is why I'm bringing it up. But like if we would somehow like get permission from the parents to do library cards, or if we can somehow, as a district, like the school district, help eliminate some of the fees that the kids have, because that's probably one of the issues that they have with checking out books, that they have fees, so they're not utilizing the library. So we talked about, could the school district work with the library to?
Why don't we have a conversation about this?
Okay.
And then I can get more details as far as what some of the barriers are. and what some of the roadblocks are.
Yeah.
And if we can, if you end up having to go all virtual, and we want, those services to be available to students, what services are they looking at?
Yeah.
And those types of things.
Jesse, I'll chime in here from my hat there and here.
Yep. Please do.
So we've gone down this path where we've tried to support the student getting the library card. We legally can't step in the middle and be mom and dad in this case. The fine and fees is two different systems. It's the fine and fees that they owe there. We've done this with Kim. We did this a little bit at the charter school. We've done the drives and all of that. We can facilitate and say, hey, bring your stuff in, bring mom and dad's stuff in, or however we do that. But we have no way of really basically collecting everything, giving it to Amy's crew and saying, here, every kid gets a library card. And so, we've worked tonight. We did it last spring with Kim, our library media coordinator in the public library. We have facilitated some use of library books through different novels as we've looked at some reading clubs at the high school. But the reality is the onus still comes back to the family to return the material, and the family gets charged the fine at that point in time. When we become the mediator in the middle, it gets real funky. And then, we got into some of those with our high school where, well, who's paying the fine? Because you said the kid have it, but you took the book from the library and some of those things. So, we can have an offline meeting around that, but we've gone down that avenue a couple times, and there are some legal barriers to it.
I get it. I just feel bad that, like, our kids that don't have home support and are, kids that have access to books are normally the parents that are very highly involved, and they make sure that their kids are supported, and like, we want it to be equal opportunity for all kids. So just trying to figure out how to make that happen.
What fees are you talking about?
Like late fees, like from not returning books, or,
But that's just a matter of asking them to be responsible.
yes.
I mean, that's
But-
just like saying, here's a rule. Follow the rule. It's simple. It's not like they can't have a book long enough.
Right.
So it's just a matter of being responsible and saying, okay, no, I gotta bring it back. Just like if I drive too fast, I get a speeding ticket. And if I complain about getting a speeding ticket, well, maybe I shouldn't follow any rules at all. So I would be very concerned about waiving our fee structure for fines, because there's plenty of time for the student to use it and to renew it. All we're asking them to be is responsible.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a couple different scenarios that you need to think about. Like, if they have a fine from, let's say, 3 years ago, when they were, I don't know, how old do you have to be to get a library card? You can be any age.
It can be any age.
So let's say they were in kindergarten, okay, and they didn't return a book. So now they're in middle school and they need to still pay for that. Are you going to punish them because they forgot to return it when they were a kindergartner?
Well, is that their responsibility or their parents?
But Doug, trust me on this.
No, I trust you.
It's-
I trust you. But if
It's
you
a
don't
legitimate-
start enforcing the rules,
Right.
when do you stop enforcing them?
And I think with that, Jesse, that's why we have our own library system. That's why we have our own digital resources. I mean, the district pumped a lot of their library money that we get through common school funds is towards digital resources this last spring and this year, is we can prevent if you owe us a fine, you can still get a book. We can control that inside the district for those kids. It's a different entity and it's a different set of rules in that sense. And I think that's where it's, those kids who maybe don't have access to the public library have all the ebooks and so forth on Destiny. It's what do we have in our libraries? Last spring we did offer still curbside pickup every single week for our families. And we had library aides dropping, boxes of books or bags of books off at doors. We're never going to be able to solve it just by hoping the public library can solve it versus the district or vice versa. I think we just have to keep offering it out there for our families, but that's probably the best we can do from both worlds.
That also shows the value of school libraries for that community.
It
Yep.
does,
think-
absolutely.
Though what you had said, Amy, is to take this offline.
Yep.
Come up with some issues, possibly come up with some solutions that you can recommend. You know, if there is something with a fee type thing, what is the resolution on that? And bring it back to the board.
Yep.
So I think
Can you put that as a task, please?
Yep. Well, actually, I thought it might drive.
Anyone else? If not, I do have a question. You looked at you had a demo of the Envisionware for
Yes.
paying. So that is a credit card paying system.
Correct.
Correct? And the reason we're looking at this is people with fines sometimes want to pay via credit card. Okay. Looking at the cost of this and looking at the amount of fines we get in, you know, I can see the benefit of doing this. My only question on this is, I know at one of our board meetings a little while ago, maybe last month or the month before, we talked about the potential that fines may be eventually going away. I'm not a believer in that. I believe we need our responsibility. But I do know just this past month, Germantown has eliminated fines for children, and they've reduced the fines for adults. Now, they're in a little bit different situation because Germantown is right on the border where you've got the Menominee Falls. And when the librarians did their survey a year ago or a couple of years ago, people said, well, why should I go to Germantown? Because I'll get charged a fee if I don't bring it back for my child's book. But I can go to Menominee Falls and not be charged. So that's why they've waived the fees for late children's books. I don't know how the industry is going to be going in the future, if we will eventually be mandated that we can't charge fees. So I'm just thinking, has any thought been
Right.
given to that?
Right now, I was a little surprised at the initial cost and the ongoing cost for, basically doing business. Right now, we do have a mechanism to take credit cards via the catalog. And that's where we've been pointing people to go to pay their fines with a credit card. This would help the circulation desk do that transaction right at the desk when they're checking out easier. I think this is something that we would look at in the future. I don't think it's something we would do even next year because our budget is so tight.
Okay. And you're right, I was looking at the setup, the initial setup is less than the annual fee.
Yeah.
Which is like, it doesn't
The
make
maintenance
sense.
fee, yeah,
Okay.
so.
Is this a system that's specifically designed for libraries?
Yes, and Envisionware,
Okay,
their products work with the ILS
okay.
so that those fines and fees would be taken off immediately. Yes, Doug?
Going back to your comment about what's the trend in eliminating fees, do you see the trend going toward eliminating collection of fees?
As far as fines, yes. That's the
what-
trend.
That's what I thought.
And fines and fees are different, though. Fines are if you bring a book late, fees are if you lose
Lose
a
it.
book. Yeah, so the losing of the book
So
will
are
still
they-
stay there.
Are they looking at eliminating both fines and fees, or just one?
Just fines.
Just fines, okay.
Okay. Anything else for Amy? If not, we will move on. Library Board President's Report. I have put on here that we need to have information sent back to me, and I'll say by, looking at the calendar, probably by October 12th for Amy, input into her evaluation. She will be sending out the eval form from the city, so you can take a look at what the form has and kind of gear your information. But if you can get that back to me, let's see, the 5th is a Monday. I gotta look at my calendar.
Are we going to get a form to?
Email, just an email form, but don't send it back email, because, again, it's confidential information that shouldn't be put in a file that somebody could potentially ask for open records because of that. So take the form that Amy is gonna send, print it out, handwrite it out, and either drop it off in an envelope here for me or drop it off to me by, I'm gonna say October 5th.
Your boxes here at City Hall or still at the library?
At the library.
There's a box at the library.
Is it an option to, because we discussed it last year with her review, do you want us to initially fill out the form and then we had some pretty good discussion?
Oh, yeah, see, then we will have the discussion. Once the
After
input
the-
comes in,
okay.
there'll be a closed session.
Okay.
And the input in, but I can kind of summarize the inputs, and then we could use that as a starting
Okay.
point.
Yeah, because I liked that format. It was just nice to get it all done at one time and not have to wait.
So are there any questions? And if there are, you can always give me a call on that. The next thing, I didn't have it here, but Amy did hand out the draft copy, and you should have this by you, of the memo of understanding between the Parks and Rec area, Parks and Rec and the library for the recreational area. Now, this has to go to the attorney for review, correct? Or is this?
No, it was drafted by the attorney.
Oh, the attorney drafted it, okay. So I don't know if anyone wants to have any questions
I
or
got some
discussions?
questions.
Sure, Doug?
This MOU is a result of input from whom?
The MOU was based on the discussions that Amy, Tim, and Joanne Klein had with the Parks and Rec group.
Okay,
Mike
and so that could be finalized without approval by the board?
No, no,
Well,
no,
that's what you're doing, because if the attorney has done it, then it's been sent to them.
no.
They drafted it. This
It's
is
a draft. We get to look at it.
When?
We're going to look at it tonight, and we will probably vote on it next month. And I'm sure the Parks and Rec has to look at it also.
Doug, they legalized what we wanted in it, in legal language, in essence, is what the attorney was asked to do. So if the agreement was X, Y, and Z, they put it in language that would withstand a legal document at that point.
So we still have to approve this, Doug.
Right.
But not tonight. We don't have it on the agenda as an item because it just came out
Right.
today.
Okay.
We could take it home and look at it closely at home and then, yep.
Sleep with it, do whatever you want.
Does Park and Recs understand that this will be reviewed by the board and could change?
Yeah.
Anything can be reviewed because it hasn't been approved, so yes. They know that
Well,
this is dependent on board approval.
do they know that?
Yes.
You're sure?
I was in a meeting with them about a week ago, and we said it, and once the draft comes, or once it comes back from the attorney, it has to go to the board for approval, and it probably has to go to the common council for approval.
Okay.
Okay.
Amy, are you the collector of recommended changes in this
Yes.
case? Okay.
So, yeah, if you do have input, I guess, do you have a date you'd like to have them by, Amy?
I don't have a calendar in front of me.
I know.
Can we say October 5th?
For what?
If you have.
If you have input for the MOU.
I thought we were going to do that at a board meeting.
Well, in order for us to approve it, though, we would need to have a draft here it is for you to look at.
Right.
You make your assessment, you get your questions back, probably have the Parks and Rec look at it and the attorney relook at what it is. Because what I guess I'm looking for is, I would like to approve this by the October meeting, but we don't have to, because this doesn't take effect until the basement is done. So if you would prefer just coming back in October with your issues, and then we can talk about it, it would just delay approval of this for a month.
I would just as soon do that, because I think one person's commentary may precipitate something from somebody else. We should have an open discussion,
That's fine.
okay?
Okay. So next month, we'll have on the agenda a discussion on the draft for the MOU.
So do you not want any questions or clarifications to go to Amy at this time?
Amy, do you want to, if somebody has a question that you think might have to be addressed, Tim, you were on that. Do you think it would be easier to address it before so we could have answers at this meeting?
I guess the way I look at it is let's say, I don't know, pick a number and a letter, 4D, I don't know, we
Whatever.
all email the same question, or there are enough people who have a similar concern. There's the ability by Amy and the Parks and Rec to potentially come up with a solution before we get back. I mean, and again, I wasn't at the last meeting, but just there's still questions I have, and I'm sure Doug and everybody else on this board, after they read it, will have some questions, and they may be questions we already talked about. But I feel like if there's a collection of, these are some questions or concerns we have, it gives Amy time to investigate or have the conversation with Parks and Rec before October 12th. I mean, it's not that we're having a behind-the-scene discussion. It's, no, here are my questions, Amy. Maybe they're already answered, or because I sat on that team, I already know the answers, but Doug doesn't. And I think that's just part of it. I think it's not a dialogue. It's a, here's my concerns. Because if 7 people have the concern, or 6 people, then if I was Amy, and Amy was working with Tim and Joanne, we'd probably have another conversation about how do we solve that going forward.
So what date would you like me to put down? What gives you ample time?
I think the 5th.
October 5th.
October 5th, okay.
So if I have a question and I don't get it to you by October 5th, I can't bring it up at the next meeting?
No,
you
we're
can
not saying
certainly
that.
do that.
We're not
Huh?
saying, we're not
No,
saying
That's
that.
what I'm asking.
No, these are things that we are trying to give Amy ample time to investigate potential questions that we have. At the next meeting, because the potential questions may be asked, like you said, somebody could say, oh, gee, I didn't even think about that, and because of that, what about this? So it's very fluid, but it's at least giving Amy time to investigate so we don't sit in this meeting and
Right.
spin our wheels and spend a lot of time.
Yes.
And I think part of it would be is Amy collecting the concerns or questions and reporting out at them on the next board meeting. I mean, it's not me as one board member saying this needs to change, Amy, and I don't like it. It's, these are the questions I have. And if 6 of us have the question, well, let's find something instead of waiting another whole month and come in with a product that Amy believes will meet the needs of Park and Rec and us, as she works with both teams.
When was this completed?
This draft, this
Yeah.
morning.
This
That's why
morning,
we
I got it
got
this
to.
morning.
This morning?
I got it this morning.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Okay. Moving on to number 8, old business, Monarch Library System update. Amy?
Okay. As I've reported in the past, Overdrive has bought RB Digital, and they have begun the process of moving RB Digital content into the Overdrive Libby platform. So yesterday, they were migrating all of the audiobooks from RB Digital into Overdrive as part of Advantage accounts. Those Advantage accounts have priority to our system first, and then they're looking at moving the magazines and Transparent Languages, which is a language program, over in the future. So RB Digital app is still a viable solution for e-magazines, and that Transparent Languages platform for learning languages. This past week, we started 5-day-a-week delivery, which has been all kinds of fun. We're getting to the point where we're wondering where all the bins are because there's a lot of material moving around, and with the quarantine and everything, we are having some libraries ask where all the bins are. So getting those to be proportionate out in the system has been a little bit of a challenge. So the Polaris upgrade that we usually have in third quarter of the year has been postponed to first quarter of 2021. There are some upgrades coming and functionality coming into the Polaris software at the end of the year, so we were looking to do that upgrade in the first quarter of 2021. Heather is working on stats for the evaluation of National Library Card Month campaign, so we'll be getting statistics as far as impressions is what they call them, or people possibly seeing the billboards and social media hits and website hits and all those types of things. So we'll be getting information on that at the end of the month.
Is there going to be any way to relate new members as related to this campaign?
If we see an increase in card holders, that was our goal, was to see an increase in card holders for the month. But there won't be any way that we can say this directly affected this.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's just about it for my report. Technology grants are still being written by the system for network speed enhancements, Wi-Fi stats software, and then network connections for Beaver Dam to join us on our Polaris ILS. That's all I have.
The Monarch Board met last week, and my impression was that we've hired a good director. Kimberly did a good job of the meeting. She reminded me a little bit of Jennifer, very professional, and the meeting went very well. So I'm glad we hired her, and I think it's going to be a good move.
Okay. If nothing else, we'll move on to the Library Recreation Center project update.
The Recreation Center update. I presented the transfer of funds as was approved by this board last month at the Common Council meeting last night, and it was approved. The pre-construction meeting is tomorrow at 10 a.m. So we're looking to start construction on the 21st, which is Monday.
Wow. 21st of September?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exciting.
Is there
Exciting.
a definition of what constitutes the library recreation center? Is it all the new stuff downstairs?
Mm-hmm.
So anything new is the library recreation center?
Yes, the two
Okay.
restrooms, the 2 rooms, and the lobby.
Okay.
And we
When-
talked about the MOU already.
Yeah, when you get the potential schedule,
Mhm.
not the, I don't want the in-depth one that says we're going to be doing this.
But if we have a
just
small timeline.
A small time one, if you could send that out to the board for us to see what the projected time frame will be. Appreciate that. Good. Any questions for Amy on the Library Recreation Center? going to be exciting.
It
I
is.
am excited. All right, now we get to 2021 library operating budget.
This year has been especially challenging for the operating budget. I've been working with city administration, human resources, and I have talked with the chair of the finance committee of the Common Council. Our health insurance costs are estimated to go up about 43.75%, which is a lot. It's about $48,000 more than last year.
That's the healthcare?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm working closely with HR on this, and as soon as I get the estimates for what they are really planning to do, because they are making adjustments, this is the last piece I need to be figured out.
And then you need the money from the city.
Yes.
Yes. This budget now here is the way you would like the budget to be, based on your projections for next year, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if you've looked at the budget, you will notice that the dollar amount that Amy is looking for from the city is going to be a little more than what we had been given in the past 2 to 3 years, which has remained constant. But with an increase in health insurance coming in at such a large rate, there's no way we can continue to maintain service at the same level and cover all these costs. So you've included that in the dollar amount.
Question? You're projecting the budget for expenditures and income next year.
Yes.
What are you projecting for savings this year, or non-spent money, or fund balance this year? How much of that are you projecting?
For the operating budget?
Right. In other words, at the end of 2020.
Oh, what we would have left at the end of 2020?
Right.
Right now, I've been watching those numbers, and I don't project us having any. Because our revenues have been down. I'm projecting us to have very little. I don't think we will have a lot of fund balance left.
And the revenue being, first of all, fines. We haven't been charging for fines because of COVID.
We're charging for fines now.
We are now, but we
Yes.
hadn't been, right? Or had we always
We
charged?
had always charged fines when we could, yes.
Okay, okay.
We had
So
pushed
have we-
dates out
Yeah.
when we were closed.
Okay,
But after that, we had charged fines.
okay.
So for the, has the city and has the county given us the funds that were budgeted at the beginning of the year before the pandemic? And so we have
Yes, the
spent.
city has. The city has. The county gives their funds on a quarterly basis.
But they're anticipated to give us the amount that you budgeted, right? So even though we were shut down, we have spent everything that you budgeted to spend, even though we had a virus and we had shutdown time.
Right. And we also project that we're going to lose money on what I had planned on getting in revenue
From,
from fines and fees and,
but that isn't
Interest.
that isn't that much compared to what the city and the county give us. I mean, it kind of blows my mind that we had limited operation and yet we spent all the money. I would have anticipated that we would have had some kind of savings.
Can I just ask, like, you still have to pay, even though there's nobody in the building, you have to pay for your heating, your lighting, even though the lights may not be on, is that, all those, right, is in your budget. And the grounds maintenance had to be done, you paid that.
Salaries.
Salaries, so we
So we paid
weren't
every-
making money because we weren't getting any room rentals or fine, fees, or other things because we didn't have patrons in the library. So, but we still had our outgoing expenditures that are budgeted for. So, to me, it just does, it makes sense that we had to spend the money. We just can't, let's close the building up and turn the heat off because nobody's there.
Doug, are you asking, like, on the plant operation side of things, because the library wasn't used daily, what the savings were in electrical, heating costs? You're really looking to see if that number went down in that case, is what you're really getting at, correct?
Right.
Is that what you're asking? I mean, is there projected savings, and what is that?
That's
what I think.
thought I
That's where
asked.
you're looking. The hard cut costs are the lights weren't on for 12 hours a day; they were on 8 hours a day or whatever they are. I mean, I think you're looking at actuals of utility bills compared to prior year. Then at that point, that's what you're asking for. Is what is that savings?
No, I guess I am, because all I'm saying is that we were not operating on a full schedule for a number of months, and yet we spent money as though we have. Is that correct?
We've spent some money
No, what-
as though we have.
Where did you anticipate that there was going to be a savings?
Well, if you're not operating and you've got the library closed for hours, there should be some savings, right?
There are
think-
savings,
Yeah.
but those are being offset by what we're not getting in revenue.
But I think that's what you're trying to quantify, is seeing those real, like, this are our savings, but this is what we saved, but this is the drop in revenues. That's what you
Yes.
really want to see, correct, Doug?
Go ahead.
Okay, would you like to see a chart like I've done in the past, with, when I did the 6-month review of the budget? You know, when I had all the expenses and all the revenues, I can do that for the third quarter.
Well, I guess I'm not going to ask for additional work. I have a concern that we didn't save any money, and if nobody on the board feels that is important, that's fine.
But I have to, again, go back, to I'm looking at her budget, her contractual services, you had to pay those. All, you had to pay your salaries, your insurance, your contractual services, your risk management, your special, all these things. Maybe you saved on supplies and gas and oil and gas for the outreach van, but we weren't taking in any money. So you still have to meet those obligations, is what I'm looking at. Yes, we may have saved money because the lights weren't on, but all those other obligations listed out in her budget, they had to be paid. So that's just my take on this.
Okay.
Amy, staff was paid at their regular time, correct? Throughout this, so really your big chunk of savings ability is the running of the building, and the fact that if when we reopened and we closed at 5, we weren't heating it from 5 till 9, and that, to me, that's the largest quantifiable savings, is your heating and your lights, is your plant operation. If your salaries didn't change, that's your only big bulk of money left to look at.
So we had no savings in salaries. And we were shorthanded during that period also, right?
Right, we did have some savings in salaries because there were some people that decided not to come back to work during that time.
Okay.
I need to estimate those savings.
Well, I'm just saying, at the end of the, you know what Chris will do. He's gonna say, well, like he did last year, you've got some fund balance anticipated, so let's spend that, and that will then help fund your budget for next year. So just be aware that could happen. That's all I'm asking.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, basically, in regards to the budget, we really can't approve anything because we do not have the exact dollar figures and stuff, but this is a listing of what Amy is going to be approaching the city for, and if necessary, possibly the common council for the,
Can I just ask a question on the health insurance? Is this increase going up across the city, the 43%? Or is
No.
it just us?
it's just us
Us.
at that percentage rate.
Okay, that's
It
what
is going up for the city.
But it's going up at only estimated 30%, what we're hearing.
It's what?
I think it's 30%. Is that what it was?
I'm not sure.
I thought I had heard that it was 30% for other departments, but ours is estimated higher. So Amy is questioning that. We
Okay.
weren't going to bring that up, but we weren't going to bring that up.
Okay,
But
I was just,
That's perfectly fine. It is another instance where it appears
Yeah,
we are not a department, a city department for everything.
right.
So if it appears that ours is going to be going up so much significantly above the other departments, then we are going to go to the common council with
because
that.
my question, does the city employee, people who work in this building and people who work in the library, would they all use the same insurance plan?
Yes.
Yes.
So, as a business person, I guess I'm a little
Right.
concerned, why that is. Why is that? And we can discuss that at a later meeting, but it just doesn't seem appropriate. Is Public Works, water, sewer and water going up 43%?
I don't think you, when we talked.
I
don't
have
think-
not asked about water and sewer.
I mean, because they're considered a separate entity like we are, the library.
The water and sewer is.
Yes. Why should, well, I don't want to go into, but it just doesn't
Right.
seem to be, if those groups that are special, like the library and sewer and water, might have to take a bigger hit to offset everybody else who works in this building.
Right.
One of the positive things that I think has come out of this is when Amy met with Megan Kennedy, who's the finance person, she's the one who caught this. So it's the common council who actually caught this. Had this not been brought up, we wouldn't even have known this. I think we'd have been just assuming everybody was going
Okay,
up at the
thank you. I
same
just want to look clear,
price.
because we've had this problem in the,
Right.
before on something, well, thank
But I
you.
will say that they are looking very closely at the health insurance and making adjustments with the broker as far as what the insurance is going to be for the coming year.
Well, is that, okay, that's with the broker, but what about the disparity between departments?
Right, and that's the other thing I'm going to talk to city officials about.
And then my question becomes one, what do we do if they turn down your budget and they reduce it? Do we have a plan of action or any thoughts at all other than going to the common council and asking?
I think what we'll have to do is, Amy can provide her budget. If it is turned down, then we, as a board, have to think about what we would have to do in regards to making up the dollars. And we are so strapped, I'm not sure. You know, it may come down to hours. So there's always a plan we can look at. We're going into this positively. The city has had a lot more construction, a lot more houses going up. I'm hoping the tax base is going up, and as the tax base goes up, we should be able to get a little bit more money.
Yeah.
Big new hotel and development along the bike trail.
Oh, houses too. So we're optimistic.
Brett, what's your feeling? Can you take your mask off so I can?
Right now, my feeling is the city has a process for budgeting and working through the system. You know, every year there's a meeting between the department heads, the city administrator, the mayor, the finance director, and all those people. They all get together and they work out their details as far as their budgets go. Of course, everybody comes to the table with, you know, everything on board, you know, a full pack of what we want and what, you know, what's the desire. But then when they get into this meeting, those numbers are always pared down. You know, the city administrator will come back and say, well, you know what, yeah, we need to do a few more roads, so let's see, everybody needs a cut, you know, 1%. You know, so it's a negotiation, it's a give and take, it's how they do business. And I've noticed that since I worked with this city. I was a police officer, okay? I saw budget comments and budgeting and negotiations all the time. You know, we were told, you know, hey, we're going to have to do with less. You know, we did training, and it was like, okay, we're not going to have as much training this time because the budget was pared down, or we didn't get as much. So it happens to every city department. It's just the nature of the beast with municipal budgeting. You know, it's a give and take. You know, they see where they can make up differences and where they take what they have and divvy it up amongst the departments and who gets what. Again, negotiations. So it's up to the department heads to bring in, you know, their wish list, so to speak, and then go from there, and what they can get is on them, and what the city determines that they can, you know, that they can give. You know, cities got priorities. They have their list of what they want too. You know, because again, it's departments wanting their priorities, city has their priorities, you know, so you take all that with a grain of salt, and hopefully you come up with a number and a budget that will be acceptable to all. Some people don't always get what they want, you know. Again, it's a give and take. So you got to be prepared to do some adjustments. You got to be flexible in some of those meetings, and just remember that, you know, you're part of a bigger picture. So that would be my comment. Go into the meetings with an open mind, you know, see what the negotiations are, and see where it works out. Good?
Good.
Okay.
One other thing that I probably should have mentioned back in my report, but it also fits in with budgets, is next year we are looking at a possible change to the board. The county has approached Amy saying they would like county representation on our library board. Amy has checked the statutes, and they have every right. They can put up to 4 county people on our board. I doubt if they will do 4. It is in addition to us 9. So that means that the county, I think, is starting to take a look at how libraries are being run in Washington County, and seeing how their money is being used in comparison to how city money is being used. So that is going to be a change to the board. I think it's a good change. I'm very happy that the county is starting to show interest in this. But it is something, and it's something the city will have to be aware of, because now there's another government agency going to be looking at stuff. So, yep.
And that kind of visibility only works out well for all of us, you know, because now you got another set of eyes. Now you got
Exactly.
another perspective as far as when we deal with things. So, you know, instead of just saying, well, did the county give us their money? You know, now the county is going to come in, and they're going to sit down here at the table with an equal say and say, you know what, we'd like to document what our money is going for. And, you know, it just makes sense to have them accountable, or have us accountable to them, because we get money from them.
Yeah, that's why I think it's great. I don't know how a bigger board's going to be, but
Yeah.
but it'll be
Well,
fine.
You know, the county is about lowering government, and, you know, they have been paring down the county board and things like that.
I think that's why they're
so.
coming into our board, because they are no longer going to be on a parks board. They do not get money now for the parks, the county, and they also are in the process of pulling away from the History Center, and they had people on the History Center board from the county, so they're not going to be on those boards.
Just my opinion, I would think it would be they're wanting to be involved in the process.
I think
It's
so,
not
too.
about that they're going to have, you know, lesser people doing other things. I think it's more that they're seeing their money being spent here, and that they'd like some sort of accountability for that. So that would be my opinion, being
that's good.
a government
Yeah.
agency. So, and especially, you know, wanting to see where their money goes to. You know, they see the paperwork and all that, and that's fine, but to sit here in the meetings like us and be able to discuss things and be able to get their side of the story, or their opinions in this board, and be involved in this board, I think that's what they're really looking for.
It is surprising, though, the county library board, the members, they're very sharp. They really know how things are run, because I've sat in on some of those meetings, and they're pretty knowledgeable. One of the big things that it will affect is the Act 420, which is a money disbursement, and we won't get into that. We've talked about that in the past, but that's a big issue with the county, and Amy mentioned in your report about the Act 420 money. So I'm looking at this as a real positive. I think it's kind of nice. We're getting some notice. Any other questions for Amy regarding budget? If not, we have no new business. Wow. Our next meeting is going to be Tuesday, October 20th. And the task list?
Task list. Amy is going to, I'm assuming it's going to be Amy, set up an offline meeting regarding the school district and the public library to see about services and things we can do for district students. Board members, we all need to get feedback to Deb by October 5th for Amy's evaluation. And we also need to get any questions or clarifications about the MOU for the Library Recreation Center to Amy by October 5th.
And Amy will send out the evaluation form to the board members.
Yep.
If nothing else, we are adjourned. 7:30.